ads. This is ridiculous. Let's go live. Going live. I'm live. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Music Production Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Funk, and this is the show where we talk about all things making music. And the reason today's episode is special is because I'm doing this as a live stream on YouTube, something I've never done before, and I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I think it's going to be fun. This is probably more of the vision of how I had the show in the first place, and probably why I took so long to get going is because this was a big production and kind of a pain in the butt. I've been trying to set this up for like an hour. Finally got it going. So the mission today is some sound design with some field recordings. So I've been accumulating field recordings for a little while now, and I need to start doing something with them. So I want to do some sound design with it. There is no real goal to this episode. It's just to spend a half an hour with some of these field recordings and make some sounds, and I'm going to release this as a new free Ableton Live Pack for you to download and use in your own music. Hopefully you find them interesting enough to want to do that. And that should be up in a little while. It'll take a little while, half hour, an hour for me to get that all set up. So if you are listening, I'm going to try to make this as interesting as possible without the video, but it probably makes more sense to watch the video. But I'm going to do my best. I'm going to talk through it. I'm going to discuss what I'm doing and how I'm going about stuff and what devices and parameters I'm using and why. So hopefully that will still be useful, because I kind of want something like that too, where I can listen in the car and not have to worry about watching and still get some like tutorial sound design stuff going. Hi people, welcome. There are people in the chat. This is a fun new component. I'll try to do my best with that, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to forget that it's going on. Yes, you can ask something, so go right ahead. I'll try to get to that too. Now, what I've got is an Ableton Live session open. I've got a video of the push, and I've got the Howler timer, which I just downloaded, which is a pretty cool app. It howls like a wolf when your time is up. And I'm going to set it for 30 minutes, and then I'm just going to start jumping in to some sound design stuff. So we're going to hit start right now, 30 minutes on the clock. And what I do, I think this is a nice little tip. In my collections in Live's browser, I have one of my categories called Try Me/field recordings. And that particular category is just things I want to try and use. So like if you get a new device, new plugin, new sound, you download a new hot Ableton Live Pack that I put out and you want to get around to using it, I would just put it in the Try Me folder. In there, I've also got a folder called Field Recordings with a bunch of different sounds that I've recorded over the last few months. And you should be hearing a little preview of that right now. It's going. And what I'm just going to do, I've got about, 15 or 20 of these. I'm going to grab them all and just put them all in an audio track so they're there for us to use. And I'm going to start with the Costco cash registers one. And this you should be hearing now. I was at Costco, and I thought it was interesting to record the cash registers. You can hear children and register beeps. I've actually used this in a recording that maybe I'll put out one day, and I pitched it around, and those beeps actually became like this melodic thing. I want to capture some of those beeps and see if I can put them into a sampler and make an instrument out of it. It's going to be kind of dirty because there's so much noise, but this is why we are doing this, because it's dirty, because there's so much noise. So I just dropped this inside the sampler, and what I'm going to have to do is try to isolate one of these little beeps. So I'm going to play the sample. Just listen. That kid is awesome. There's a good one. That was nice. Ooh, yeah. We can do something with that. So I'm just trying to isolate that. I'm going to narrow in on it. I think what I'm going to do is crop this sample down because I kind of want to do like a fade. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? It's even better. I'm going to switch this to a simpler. This is one reason I like simpler. Ooh, I can't do it that way. So we just learned a little lesson. We're going to skip that. I was going to try to use the fade on simpler, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find that beep inside the clip. There it is. Just narrow in on that. Nice. And I'm going to crop this and do just a little quick editing. Probably should have done this in the arrangement view. So we're going to crop that down. And I am going to just bring this into arrangement view because you just get a little bit more wiggle room with some of your automation and stuff, because what I want to do is fade this thing out. I don't want to have all that noise going. I kind of want my instrument to fade out naturally. So I'm going to just get in on that. There it is. And I'm going to put a fade on it. Perfect. And you know what? We'll just create a new audio track. I'm going to resample that. So I'm sure that will commit real quick. I should have used my resample device. But anyway, we'll do this. Hit record here. One more time. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, everybody. This is embarrassing. Go back here, and now he'll hit record. And hopefully I didn't talk over that because I do have my mic record. Fine, that should be good. So we're going to grab this, and now we'll put it in that sampler. Go back to our track. And now we're going to put that in sampler. There you go. And we've got it in here. There's a nice fade. A lot of like just noise and crunchy stuff going on in there, which I think is kind of cool. And there we have it. We've got a little sampled instrument. I'm going to just pull out this. It sounds really cool low. It's almost like it has a reverb on it. I'm just going to open up the release so it plays the whole sample every time. Nice. Now we could also go inside and do our filtering and stuff. So I'm going to put this in a group. I like to do that just so it's nice and easy to have access to everything. All my macro controls will show up nice. I'm just putting my filter controls on a macro here so I can do stuff like that real quick. And I'm going to go for a delay. Ableton's newish delay is pretty cool. It's got a combination of the ping pong, the simple delay. I think that's it. Maybe I'm missing something. Ping pong and simple. I was reading online, people were kind of complaining about the fact that this device was made and it took away their old stuff, but I'm not really sure I understand why. Because I think it sounds close enough to the same that I can't really tell the difference. And it's got some really cool modulation on the filter and the time. You hear the time getting really warped there. It's obviously too extreme, but I like a little bit. So we're going to just put this into our macro. I'm going to just really map our sync rate. Let's make this unsynced, right? Let's live a little, huh? Take some chances. So I'm just mapping a few things to some macro controls. I'm going in here so now. I bet what would be cool on this would be an arpeggiator. So I'm just going to grab an arpeggiator and throw that right before the sampler. Turn up the gate. I don't think that matters, actually. Whoa, craziness. So we're going to map the rate knob there and maybe the style knob. And I think what I want to do here, because I'm noticing there's a lot of low end, is maybe, you know what? Maybe what I'll actually do is re-record the sample with some, just a little bit of, see, here's our original sample. Let's just listen to that again. There's a lot of low end we don't need there, so I'm gonna cut that out. First, let's make a little loop here. And I'm gonna just take a look at my low end. And yeah, there's a ton of low end we really don't need here. I mean, that's really the sound, right? We don't need all of that garbage. If you want to just hear like what I'm cutting out, that, which may actually be kind of cool for a drum. So I'm not gonna, this is the funny thing that happens. You start like getting all these like exciting ideas. So I'm not gonna totally lose that. I'm gonna give it just a little bit of boost on that particular frequency. I'm gonna hit record and get one. There we go. I'm gonna duplicate this instrument that I just made because I think I do want one with some of the bass. I'm just gonna replace that sample so we can see the difference here. Cool. Now this is a duplication without all that low end. Let's just see the difference. I'm gonna turn off that arpeggiator for a second. Nice little trick to do is to map the on-off button of a device. Like for example, this arpeggiator, the sync rate, I'm gonna map to the same knob as the on-off button. And I'm gonna turn the device on and off to only go on at 1. So when I turn the knob all the way to the left at 0, it stays off. As soon as I turn that knob up, it starts turning on. I'm also just gonna flip the rate of the arpeggiator so it starts out slow and goes fast. I just think that makes a little more sense. And so we get something like that. Now let's just maybe compare that. So I've got this sound, right? Let's just see what that sounds like now that I cut the low end out of it. So it changes it quite a bit. That's with all that low end. Let's turn off this arpeggiator. Just play those notes. This is the sample that had the low end. Very noisy. And that's the one without it. Fun. And a lot of delay going on there, apparently. All right, cool. I'm not going to play around with that too much more because I just spent 10 minutes on one sample. So we'll leave that alone and move on to something else. I'm going to pick out another sound, although I could probably just go nuts with that one particular sound there. But let's pick something that might be cool for like white noise. I wanted to make a couple like little white noise sounds there. So let me just turn off my loop here. And I don't need these samples in my arrangement view so they don't cause us any trouble on playback. This is Rain. Let us hear the sample in its full glory without that EQ. Rain is almost like white noise in a lot of ways. It's a heavy rain. This is a very similar rain, probably the same day. But you hear the crickets. Those are fun to me. That's something I want to kind of have in my recording. And I think this one has more crickets, so we're going to go with the one with the more crickets. And again, we'll put this into a sampler. So I'm going to pull open sampler. Get another track here. Trying to keep this in the group so that it compresses with my voice. So everything sounds nice. And now I'm putting the rain and crickets in my sampler. I'm sorry, I'm going back one step because I forgot something critical to this sampler instrument. This one here. I forgot to tune it. So let's tune it. I think we have enough clarity in the pitch that we can just use Ableton's tuner. And what I'm going to do, I'll turn off this delay for now. And I'm playing a C on my keyboard, and I'm getting back a B with about 20 plus 20 cents, which is too much. So we are going to go to the root of sampler. There's a root thing. Right now it thinks this is C3, which is what I'm playing, but it's not. So I'm going to set the root to B. And now when I play the C, it's reading out a C, but it's still about 20 cents too high. So what I can then do is start detuning the sample. I'm going to put in -20. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong spot here. Pardon me, -20. It's all the stress of the live stream. And now I should get a fairly accurate, there's an E, I'm playing an E. Looks pretty good. Nice. So we've got that instrument finished. Okay, that's important. You want your instruments to play back in tune when you use them. So tuner is a great way to do it. You can also use the EQ and look at the spectrum and try to identify the pitch by the little peaks in the spectrum. So here's our rain with our crickets. Now, what I think I will do is simply set up a track to record in here. So I'm going to set this track up to listen to my rain and crickets. So I have this ready. And something I do like to do a lot of times is just to record and fool around and see what happens. And this way I'm not really too worried about the outcome. I'm just having a good old time. There's no pressure. There's, you're not worrying how things sound. You're just playing and seeing what happens. Okay, so in order to make this cool, I think we should set up a few things in advance, like maybe a fun delay. Nice. I'm going to just turn up our release on this sample a little bit. And probably want to play with the filter as well. So I'm going to group these together because I want to have these controls accessible at the same time. So we're going to start with the filter, map that to macro 1, give a little resonance as well. We'll have that handy. We're going to have the time parameter of the delay, so I can do stuff like this. I'm a big fan of that sound. You may have noticed. I do that a lot. Turn down that delay. And I'm going to just, should I put anything else up? I don't know. Let's just start with that. Maybe I'm going to put the filter drive in there just in case if I want to go a little crazy. I'm just going to put a couple effects on there for the heck of it. We'll do a chorus. I'm going to start that at totally dry so we don't actually hear it. And maybe a redux as well. And we'll put that before the delay. And again, I'm going to turn off the bit reduction. And I'm going to map the down sample control. So that, like, now what I've got is a quick instrument. Where I can do things like that. I think my delay time is a little long. I can do things like that. We can turn up some chorus. And then we can do right? So all I want to do with all of this is just have a little fun. Just hit record and see what happens. I'm down to 13 minutes. I haven't made many sounds yet. So we're going to hit record and go to town. You know what? One more thing. See, this is why I'm not getting much done. I want to also have a high pass filter, and I'm going to put that after the bit crusher. Switch my auto filter to be high pass, and I'm going to put a knob, macro map that to 7. Turn up the resonance a little bit, and oh yeah, listen to that like crazy bass I just made. So now I can also do. Cool. Crickets, here we go. I'm going to hit record and make a clip and just see what we come up with. Kind of an obvious one, right? To just close the filter as a noise thing. Let's open it. I really love how you hear those crickets in the background. That's just adding a lot of character. I'm going to do that again, just this time with some chorus and maybe a little more resonance. Let's open it. Nice. Maybe do some down sampling. And we'll go the other direction. Cool. I'm going to use the high pass now. Fun. We'll turn up the chorus like crazy. Playing with the delay time as well. That's another fun way to get some cool sounds. Now let's just see what happens when we turn up the filter drive and do a nice delay sweep. And filter sweep. I'm gonna open up my high pass so we can hear that. Let's go the other way. Cool. Okay, and I'm just going to stop that and have a look at my clip. And if you're watching, you can see I've got a few different things that are kind of fun. A nice way to put these to use is to slice them into a new drum rack. So what I'm doing is just adding some warp markers, roughly where I want the slices. I'm not going too nuts. You know what? I have a better idea. What we're going to do is I'm going to convert this to a simpler, which you can do on push nice and easy. I convert it to simpler. Then we're going to go to our different modes, our slicing modes. And we're going to go by, let's do it manually. So I can put one there. You know what? This will be a little bit faster if I just do it straight on the simpler. So we're not sitting around waiting for those sounds to come. So make a slice. You just go and you double click where you want to slice. Wherever you want to slice. So I'm just clicking, making some slices so that I have these sounds. And what we'll do, we'll eventually turn this into a drum rack. And then we will have a bunch of weird sounds that we can use instead of white noise. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to just change the start point on this here. So it comes in right away. We'll go to the next one. Same thing. Cool little sound. So all I'm doing is just going inside. I'm using push. It's nice and easy to do on push. But I'm just nudging the start points on each of these. Let's go to the next one. Cool. Lots of fun stuff. I'm going to, I don't think there's anything else I really want to do to that. And I'm going to convert this now to a drum rack. And what we have as a result is rain and crickets, noisers, risers, and fallers. And just all kinds of crazy stuff here. Right now they're set to choke each other. I guess that's the default when you convert. I'm going to change that. I don't think I want them to choke each other out. We're not fighting with each other. Let's be nice. No choking. This way I can launch one. If I'm feeling like really happy and excited about my transition, I can launch another one without the other one going away. Or I can launch like 2 at a time. Might be fun to maybe scatter the panning of these a little bit. So I'm just going to go inside the drum rack and just pan them around a little bit. Totally randomly. I'm really not thinking too hard about this right now. If you want to fine tune this later when you download this, be my guest, because this is yours now just as much as it is mine. All right, so I've panned them out a little bit. There's one on the right, one on the left. Cool. So now we've got a couple things going. Oh, I'm down to 6 minutes. This is getting exciting here. So I'm going to just... There's my... remember that? That was fun. I'm just going to put these guys next to each other so I remember that they are complete, and I'm just going to color code them. Sometimes that's just helps me remember, like, oh, you already did this, buddy, so no need to keep going. Let's go back, pick one more. Dogs eating ice cubes. Just thought that'd be cool. Crunches. These might be just like cool percussive things. I'll turn up the volume a little bit so we can hear this a little better. So, as a treat, I will often give my dogs ice cubes to chew on. It's part of a diet, I guess. There's a nice one. I like that one's cool because it's like kind of flams. Here it comes. Right here. So I'm just picking the ones I want. I'm setting little warp markers inside of Live, because all I'm going to do on this one is just do a slice to new MIDI track type of thing. And then this way it'll just pop right into a drum rack and we're good to go. I think that's plenty. And one thing that always happens when you slice to new MIDI is like that first one is usually blank because there's a warp marker right at the beginning of the clip. I don't want that, so I'm just going to go to my first warp marker, set 1 to there, and I'm going to bring my loop brace to it, and I'm just going to crop the sample. And now I'm going to slice to new MIDI track. And we're going by warp markers. And what preset do I want? Man, I don't know. I've got a bunch in here. I got one called Simple Control Drum Rack. That's probably what I want. And we're going to click OK. And let's see what we got. These are the sounds. They're a little bit quiet. I'm going to set them all to one-shot mode. Just bear with me 1 second while I do that. I think I got them all. They could all use a little volume. Let's do that rather than using the volume, though. Let's use some filter drive. So I'm setting up the simpler to have the MS-20 filter on there, and I'm just turning up the drive. Now we can do some little shortcuts here. If we click on something on one simpler and then turn it to what we want, we can then change all the values on every device to follow suit by right-clicking on the parameter and clicking copy value to siblings. And that changes all of the different simplers to have that same parameter. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is just trim these down. I don't want all of that chewing. I just kind of want the... I love that one. Put a little fade out on that. See? These little doggies are so good. Making us a little drum rack. Oh, yeah, that's got a nice texture to it. Again, it needs a little fade though. That's one thing I love about using one-shot mode on simpler, is there's a fade out control. So rather than that like sudden cutoff, we can fade it out smoothly. Sounds much nicer. Fade them all out. I like to do the fade outs individually rather than doing the copy value to siblings, just because there's a lot of variety in these samples and the length. That's a good one too. Now, when you're making beats, it can be nice to like not quantize things or put grooves on them and change the timing of the individual hits. But another way you can kind of get the similar effect is by having samples that maybe don't start right at the beginning. A lot of these are not starting right at the beginning of the sample. I guess that's just one we don't need. I'm going to delete this one that's empty. Honestly, I think we get more drive out of it. Like the distortion of it. I'm going to just crank up the drive on all those. Oh, I'm hearing my howler go off. No, I'm not ready. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I tried to put my headphones up. It's a funny feature of the howler timer. Kind of freaked me out because it sounds like animal noises. Oh, you know what? I'm going to just add 5 minutes to finish this one up. Hope you don't mind. Oh, I didn't even get to the portal yet. I think I said I wanted to do that. Well, you know, it's just how it goes sometimes. That's another day. This is just a great one. You can have a lot of fun transposing these. Gonna need something that kind of functions like a kick. I'm gonna try this one. So I've got my one shot here. Go to my controls. I'm gonna go to the pitch envelope and have this pitch down over a really short amount of time. Hopefully get like a little more of a click. Nice. So you can kind of hear like a doo-doo. Cool. We could probably even pitch it down more. I'm also going to use my filter envelope to really give us some extra bass. So I'm turning my filter down, and I'm going to use the envelope to do a similar thing where the envelope's going to move really fast. It's going to create more of a thump sound. And now it's just a matter of finding the right pitch, cranking up the resonance. Probably don't need as much of this sample as I originally had. Put a little more fade out on it. I kind of like it long, to be honest. Let's see. All right, let's see. I'm gonna play with the filter envelope to see if I can get more of a kick sound. Nice thump there. Kind of does sound like a kick. So it's just a matter of picking like the frequency I want it to wind up on. Curious if I do have chokes on these. I don't want chokes on these either. So I'm just going inside my drum rack and turning off the choking. Again, we're trying to play nice today. No one gets hurt. No one gets choked. Everyone's happy. Kind of want a little more snap on this kick. So what I'm doing is increasing the filter envelope. I'm going to try it with the pitch too. Oh yeah, the pitch does a lot. Almost too much. Interestingly, lose out on some of that tail. This appears to be a blank slice. I'm going to delete it. And here are some dogs eating ice cubes. Percussion sounds. I want to get like one of these. Yeah, let's try this one. Open that up. I'm just going to shorten this a little. It's funny how it like stops sounding like what it actually is after a while. I think. I'm going to just transpose this. I made a copy of it. So I like to have my kick usually in the bottom left, so I'm just moving. It's almost like a snare in some other universe. Nice, fun. So we got our dogs eating ice cubes sample. Not thrilled about the way the macros turned out on this, but who cares? We got some nice drive. I'm going to even turn it a little bit louder, copy those values to siblings. Now, I guess this isn't going to really be like your main drum track, probably for a lot of kinds of music. Oh, here comes my howler. I'm going to put it on so you can hear it. Maybe through the headphones here, because it's kind of funny when it goes off. It's more fun than a buzzer, in my opinion. But that's the howler for you. So I guess maybe that will be where we go with this. We made a couple cool things. We've got an instrument we can play. From a Costco cash register. I think maybe my sample. There we go. My sample was starting a little bit early, which made that it felt like there was a latency or something going on. I'm gonna just duplicate this again, this instrument, and I'm just going to see if I can get a nice loop out of it, so we can sustain it. So this is the duplicated version. That's our sound. I'm gonna turn on the sustain mode. Ooh, we're gonna have fun. Oh man. How nice is that? My release time is all the way up, so it's going on forever. Cool sound. It probably sounds really nice if I filter it down a little bit, get rid of some of that kind of craziness up top. It's like a little dreamy sounding. You could probably even turn this into a pad. by raising the attack. Kind of sounded like the Paco Bell thing. Cool. And we're getting like that like weird textures because of the looping. We could, you know, experiment with like how much we want that to loop and what we want our crossfades to be. But I like it. It's got a lot of texture. Give it a little delay now. So I did this one as an arpeggiator on it because we made that like copy, but I'm gonna delete it because for a pad, like an arpeggiator doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I think we can find other things that are more fun. And something I had in mind was auto pan. And auto pan, I'm thinking not so much for the panning aspect, but for like a tremolo. So normally when you turn on auto pan, it goes from left and right. Hopefully you're hearing that. I believe I'm broadcasting here in stereo. But if we change the phase to 0, now we get a tremolo effect. Because all it's doing is turning the volume up and down on each side of your speakers or your headphones in, you know, completely out of phase. So when the left is all the way up, the right is all the way down. And when the right is all the way down, the left is all the way up. And that gives the effect of it moving in your head. But if we change the phase to be together, now it's going to move together. And I put this after the delay so we'd really feel the effect. I'm going to move it before the delay, and you'll hear the difference. So the delay is delaying the tremolo effect, so it doesn't ever really cut out all the way. But when we put it after the delay, I change the shape and touch just to make it a little more pronounced. And I will map these macros. We'll turn on the amount of the tremolo and the rate. What the heck? I got one more macro. We'll do the shape as well, because that can make it a lot crazier. Right now it's just a noise waveform. Now it's a triangle. Or a saw, I'm sorry. Now it's more like a sine or a triangle. Trying to decide if I want the saw to go up or down. When I make it go down, it's more like a pluck. Let's do it reverse, because we already sort of have a pluck on the other instrument. Yeah, so it almost gives us like reversed sound. Nice. I like that a lot. I'm going to put a little LFO on the filter, just give it some movement, because we can, and it sounded cool when I turned that knob a little bit. I'm not going to go nuts. We're going to keep it nice and slow. So I'm about half a half a hertz. And I've got it. On sampler, the max is 24 for some reason. I don't know why it's not just like 100 or something. But it's 24, so I'm putting it at 10. 9.75, I guess. It's a little more pronounced if you put some resonance on it, but I like it kind of low. It's faster than I want, so I'm going at 0.2 hertz now. Turning off the retrig, so it's just always kind of moving, not depending on which note I play. Nice sound. And that is from a cash register at Costco. That's kind of fun. Back to the other one. Just for fun, let's, I'm going to duplicate this again. So this is like the third instrument from that cash register. We could probably do this forever. I just want to see what it sounded like if I reversed it. Might be cool with the arpeggiator. Kind of sounds like the other one we just made. I don't know. I don't really care about that too much. I prefer the first one. I'm going to delete it so I don't even have it because I don't need more sounds in my sound library, do I? No. And then we got our rain and crickets, noise risers. These could probably use a little like volume balancing, which maybe I'll do behind the scenes before I release this. Both of these channel strips for whatever reason. Some cool sounds, and then we've got our percussion to top it off. Nice. It's interesting percussion. You know, you don't have to make that be your main drums. You can always bring in some other drums to supplement it, and then you got this like kind of cool sounds here. And we can have a lot of fun with that. Well, I got to 2 or 3 of the many samples I have in this sort of half hour that I extended probably by another half hour or so. The point here, the lesson, the takeaway is to just have fun. Take your field recordings, record weird things and see what you get. I didn't know this was going to happen when I was at Costco recording the cash registers. Nor did I know on the track I mentioned before that I used this as the background that it would be so cool too. And I mean, there's a lot in the sample. We didn't get that like upset kid that was at the cash register wishing that they were doing something else, complaining to mom and dad. That could be another part of the sample that gets used for fun. And here's that pad. Lots of cool stuff, I think, and useful sounds maybe for some music of your own. Thanks a lot for watching and listening. If you were listening, I hope this was still helpful to you and handy and made sense. And if you were watching, thank you as well for tuning in. My name's Brian Funk. I got all my stuff at brianfunk.com. Lots of free Ableton Live Packs, tutorials, the podcast. This is episode 121, I believe. So there's quite a few episodes to listen to if you haven't checked those out too. So I'm going to hit the road now and get on with life. Check out if you need a timer. I really like Howler Timer. It's a free app on Mac. Howler, like a wolf howls, which is why the wolf howled at the end. You just set the hours, the minutes, the seconds, and you press start. It looks like there's other features too. You can upgrade it and maybe it'll do other cool things for you. But as far as just like staying a little disciplined and focused, I think it's a really good idea to use a timer because, you know, we could sound design forever and never make music. But by having a little limit here, now it's okay, time to move on. I set the timer for this because I do have other things to do today. So I can't sit here playing and sound designing because next thing I know, it'll be, instead of 1:40 in the afternoon, it'll be 1:40 in the morning. You guys all know how that goes. So thanks again for listening. Check out brianfunk.com. I'll have this up for download in the next, we'll say within a day or so. And thanks. I appreciate it. Take care. Now how do I end the stream? End stream.